Ooh, do 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 do. Ooh, my hands. Talk with my hands. Hello! Today we're going to be talking about Next in Fashion Season 2, Episode 5. The theme for today's runway is collaboration. Let's get to this, shall we? Alright, so collaboration. Collaboration is a really... I'm sorry, my child. Collaboration is a very, very integral part of the fashion industry. Not only are we consistently collaborating within our jobs, brands could collaborate with personalities, brands with other brands, brands with a certain company, and it can lead for a reimagination. So collaboration is a very, very important thing in our industry. Within our jobs, we collaborate with the other people on our team. Usually there's a few team of designers, illustrators, pattern makers, seamstresses. So it's realistically within our own industry, a huge collaboration. Fashion in itself is the cornerstone of art and commerce. So it really, really encapsulates the entire idea of our industry with this one theme. It could really push a designer into a form of discomfort that can lead to very, very impactful moments. Lead to a creative work of thought that a designer couldn't have reached to if they were working solely on their own. So collaboration, I'm a huge fan of. I think it's an extremely, extremely important part of our industry, so that when we truly band together and work on art as a community, we really, really create some impactful things. I think of some iconic collaborations. You know, there's the H&M and Mugler collaboration that's coming out very, very soon. Stay tuned for that video. Or maybe it's already out, who knows. There's also the iconic Versace and Fendi collaboration. That was really, really fun. There's even some collaborations where like art houses and streetwear brands will collaborate. Like I'm pretty sure Supreme has done many, many collaborations. So I think collaboration opens up for different lanes of creativity to take space. And I think that's really exciting. Without further ado, let's get to this runway, shall we? So for this runway, the designers had to create a men's and a women's look, and they had to be cohesive, collaborative. So to me, this challenge feels very reminiscent of that team challenge. When it's one other person working on something, you need to remember that both identities need to be present. So I'm definitely looking for shared identity, how these two identities mesh together and become this brand new image. And I think that that's a very extremely important part. What is it that ties the two looks together? Is it fabrication? Is it color? Is it the cut of the garments? We'll have to stay tuned and find out. So up first we have Megan and DeAndre, and their looks I felt were actually very cohesive in aesthetic. And there was the color of the pink bringing them together. This puffer silhouette is definitely something we've seen from DeAndre. And I do think that Megan really hit the whimsy button and made it all very fantastical. I do sort of agree with the judges that the women's look feels a tiny bit disconnected from the men's look. But much like Olivier said, completely disagree, because the ideas are in the same realm. For the women's look, that hood feels a little puffed. Feels like it's riffing off of the puffer shapes that DeAndre uses. The same thing with the shorts having that puffer to them. It's a bloomer, I believe, is what Megan called it. And for the men's look, it being done in this pink really, really shows Megan's touch to it. And this huge puffer silhouettes really sort of ties the two together. It's cute and streetwear and fluffy. Like this coat is major. And I will also point out that on the men's look, there were these sashes in the polka dot and the blue, sort of to help tie it all together. But I wonder if maybe there was some sort of corseting underneath or harness that the male look could have had on to sort of tie it further together. Maybe that's what the judges were looking for. I also thought that the bag that they made was really, really, really cool. This sort of giant duffel bag, it was fabulous. I actually even wonder if maybe the men's look should have had the duffel bag just because the materials looked a little bit more cohesive with the women's look and it could have tied them together better. But I do think that the duffel bag looked best on the women's look. All in all, I do think that the looks are in the same realm. I do see that there could have been more cohesion pushed into the two of them. But nonetheless, I do think these are strong looks. I think they're fab. So up next we have Amari and Nigel, and Amari and Nigel really went in on the full cohesiveness. The looks are made out of the entirely the same material. Again, we see this patchworking that is very synonymous with Nigel, and we see this sort of high sex appeal that is coming from Amari's look. And that's something that Amari has mentioned that they do very often. Very sexy, very feminine empowerment, very swerves and curves and body. And I think that Amari really impressed me this time around. I will say it looks to me like Amari entirely did the women's look and Nigel entirely did the men's look. Like, if you told me that they were just given the same materials to design whatever they wanted, I would have believed you, because what's really tying these looks together is really just the fabrication that Nigel made. Not really the cuts or the design or the style. I do think that they are a complete cohesive look, and I think they deserve the high markings, and I'm pretty sure they won this episode. But I love these looks. These looks are really impressive. The impact that Amari might have had on this men's look has to be with the croppedness of the jacket. It's very cropped up. The pants are also pretty high-waisted, so I could see that feminine approach to it. And I do think that she might have had a say in on those slits on the side of those pants, because she does like this idea of sexy, showing skin, open, revealing. So I can see how those two mesh in together. I definitely love these looks. I think that Amari and Nigel hit it out of the park. Good job. Desiree and Bao did this very interesting sort of sexy take on these two looks. It feels a little resort wear. It feels very like Rich Money, but make it slutty. I think this men's look really accompanies this women's look very well. And the fact that the jacket fits both of them in a very different way really ties the whole thing together. The fabrication work, the black works, the little tiny duffel bag is actually really cute. I never even thought about like a duffel bag purse, and that's actually, I think, really cute. I think that's fab. And I love the way that this bodysuit goes into this sort of suiting, traditional suiting situations with this tweed. And is it tweed or boucle? I don't know, but I'm gonna call it tweed. And the men's details are really crisp enough. Like that men's like satin cabana shirt has like pieces of that tweed patchworked on top of it. It has the patchworking on that shirt so that even if he's not wearing that jacket, you still see how it ties in. And even then, on the men's pants, usually tuxedo pants have like a contrast little like strip of fabric on the sides. And it's usually in like a shinier fabric, and it kind of just brings attention to that streamline of that leg. And they did it with the green tweed fabric, and I really love that. Even without the jacket, there's pieces that tie him with her, and even her without the jacket, there's pieces that tie her with him, like with the shorts obviously, and with that piece above the chest. I think that they really did a good job, and they really meshed both of their aesthetics together. This sort of sexy, almost lingerie bodysuit style from Bao, and this crisp, timeless suiting from Desiree really work well together, and I'm very impressed. And finally, we have James and Godoy. And James and Godoy won last week's challenge and was able to choose their partner, and they chose James. I think the fact that Godoy won last week's challenge and was able to choose a partner put a lot of power in their hands. If I was them, I would have chosen Bao, personally. However, the fact that they chose James shows that they truly believed in James' designing aesthetic. And when I look at these looks, I don't see a lot of James. I feel like James works in a lot of bright colors and does suiting, and I see suiting in the men's look, but I don't see a lot of James. I see more Godoy with this black, sexy, sort of hyper feminization of both of the looks. The women's look has a sort of disconnected collar that goes into a corset and a draped skirt. Now, the judges didn't really feel that it was anything interesting, and they even said that it looked a little costumey. I disagree with the costumey aspect of it, but I can see that it does give a little bit like cabaret, maybe even a little burlesque dancer-y. But I did like the colors. The black and that dark red are really nice, and it is giving very cocktail. And I believe their story was these two rich young people going out, and then they left, and then they went to go get a slice of pizza, and that's why they had the pizza bag. Which, you know, slay, that's me. But out of the two, the strongest was definitely the men's look. The white shirt with this jacket with these interesting lapels, and the pant that had this huge flare that when they moved, it was almost like a A-line skirt. I definitely think it was the strongest out of the two looks. I'm very curious as to why they didn't push some of those aspects into the women's look. I do know Godoy had to do most of the sewing, which might have been the reason why the women's look has far less fabric than the men's look. But I still do think the looks are fairly cohesive. I actually wonder if whatever material is around that lapel on the men's look could have been integrated into the women's look a little bit more. I actually also even wonder how this corset would have looked if they even just snipped that collar situation off. Maybe it could have elevated it. Or even if it was like a different skirt situation. Maybe it could have been a shirt dress underneath this corset situation and tied them together a little bit differently. I don't hate these looks. I'm quite fond of these looks. I can see why the judges didn't really enjoy the women's look, because in comparison, the men's look is so stacked that the women's look falls flat a little. The women's look falls flat a little. So all in all, I thought the runway was extremely interesting. Seeing the way that these aesthetics sort of mesh together, I do feel like it was a little planned, except for the first obvious pairing. Godoy was able to choose who they wanted. I do believe there was thought at who was going to get paired with who, and it might have been predetermined with different variations of it, just in case someone was picked. I still think that at the end of the day, the pairings on the runway were very, very well executed. And this is at the part of the season where it's like, you don't really want to see anybody go home because they're all delivering really, really consistent looks. And I think that the construction is all there, and they're delivering very, very amazing pieces. So at this point, I'm very sad for anyone who goes. Okay, with that, we're going to move from the runway and we're going to go to my look. Okay, so for my looks, I wanted to really, really take hand in this runway theme and collaborate with some of my friends. I have a couple friends that I'm very, very close with that also went to school with me, and I really wanted to sort of pick their fashion brains and collaborate with them on these illustrations. So I hit up my besties at Mikey Love and the Skull Baby, and I really, really, really was I'm so grateful for the work that they did. Both Bobby and Mikey really, really served it up. You should go follow them and check out the stuff that they produce. They're really cool and amazing and fun and fresh and cool. But let's get to these looks. So I essentially asked for a menswear look from Mikey and a womenswear look from Bobby. And the way I sort of told them was, give me whatever ideas you have and you want for this. My job is to figure out how to make those two cohesive. How to tie them together, if you will. Mikey gave me an illustration that they did, sleeveless top with, it was a princess block. That means there were princess seams assisting the fit of that bodice. And the middle panel had something that we call bamboo pleating. It is a very, very interesting visual pleating technique. And when you do it correct, it looks amazing. And their collection is actually coming out very soon. And if it's out by this time, I'll probably link the video down below if they decide to post it, because they did some bamboo pleating in their looks. And it's really, really badass. But that's sort of the look. And they also accompanied it with a wide leg pleated short. So I thought, what is it that I'm taking away from this? The mesh, because the side panels are mesh. That bamboo pleating, because I really like the way that that looks visually. And even the pleating in the short let me take along with the pleating. And the fact that it was all done in this gray black, I thought, okay, I should keep it pretty dark. That could be a way I do it. And doing something high on the neck would also, I think, benefit this look. With Bobby, it took a little bit longer because she's a little out of practice. And rather than illustrating or sketching something, she sort of told me what it was, the vibe that she wanted. And she said she wanted something like a mesh cropped tank, which already was great because the mesh already ties itself with the mesh that Mikey wanted in his look. So that really, really works. So I'm like, all right, mesh. That's the first element of these looks that is going to tie them together. And then she brought up this maxi cargo skirt that with adjustable like zippers that could change the length. And that's when I started sweating a little because that sounded complicated. So I immediately started figuring out, okay, how do I elevate on these ideas? How do I make these ideas runway? How do I elevate them to bring them up to the level that I want some of these other looks that I've done for this, you know, next in fashion, you know, something that people haven't really seen before. And I immediately started sketching. And I thought, okay, maybe it'd be cool if we take this idea of an adjustable skirt with all these zippers and make it a dress that has these open zippers that are kind of draping and contouring along the body. And that ended up working very, very well. So we're going to talk about the women's look first because I actually think it's pretty badass, I'd like to say. Okay, so I wanted to do this sort of deconstructed or reimagined maxi skirt, but it's a whole dress that has these adjustable zippers that you can make openings for and change. So I went along with that. I kept the middle of it like a regular skirt and sort of kept these princess seams to sort of help mimic the original bodice in Mikey's look. And I also wanted to keep the front panel still with that bamboo pleating because I think that would tie it all together really well. And I still made it a cargo dress, so it has a lot of pockets, a lot of zippers, and I kept that mock neck as well. And I ended up doing it in this blue holographic duochrome, like a purple blue duochrome color. In my mind, the color that ties my two best friends together is purple. So I thought, oh, I could maybe make like a purple duochrome holographic situation, since Mikey is very, very much known within our friend group of loving holo. He loves holographic duochrome stuff. And so that's sort of what I wanted for the dress to have. And I wanted to do a mesh bodysuit underneath. Since there was mesh mentioned in both of the looks, I thought a bodysuit that has these different openings underneath can really sort of convey this three-dimensionality and sort of make it very streetwear, but punk, and still elevate it for an editorial sense. And I actually really enjoy how this look came together. This is the first one that I ended up designing and illustrating because I thought, to me, this is the hardest look that I have to conceptualize. I can work backwards from here for the men's look. So if you're ever struggling with doing a men's and a women's wear look, sometimes it's easier to start with the one you're the strongest with and take bits and pieces of that and rework it for the opposite look. And it actually ends up working together very well. I'll show you right now. For the menswear look, I wanted to sort of stay in that same lane, but I wanted to make it more streetwear because to me these looks were reading a little bit more streetwear. So I wanted to do this same situation, a sort of cargo pant that had these zippers that like helped open it up and reconstruct. There was some draping to it, and it ended up coming together very well. Still a cargo pant. I even did the same thing with the waist, so it like tips up and it comes up higher. That would be adjustable. But I paired it with a puffer jacket that the quilting would be done in that style, mimicking the bamboo pleating. And it actually came together pretty cool. I kept the zippers in the sleeve so it could open, showing more skin. Slutty. And I did keep the puffer, the collar of the puffer, going up to sort of still mimic that mock neck. And I put a bucket hat on it just to sort of, since they were already talking about how there needed to be an accessory, I thought, shit, if Nigel can just make a bucket hat, so can I. So I did, in the matching material. And I think it came together very, very well. Much like the women's wear look, this one also has a mesh bodysuit underneath, further tying them all together. And I think that there's a very, very interesting cohesion to it, not just because the materials are the same, but also because the ideas of what bring them together are present in both. They both have this sort of cargo zip happening throughout the entirety of the look. They both have this sort of pleating shape happening, and they both have mesh present in those bodysuits underneath. And they both have that streetwear vibe. I am obsessed with these looks. I showed them to Bobby, but I haven't showed them to Mikey, so maybe when this video comes out, he'll see them, or I can just send them to him. Sorry, Mikey. And so, all in all, I think these looks really, really open up the idea of a futuristic streetwear. Meet the Jetsons, but like high fashion. Like, you know, they're going on a date on the moon type situation. And I think that that's fierce, fabulous, and amazing. And I hope you enjoy them. Now, I will say this episode was really, really interesting to design. This one took the longest to conceptualize because it was not just my ideas that I had to figure out. It was that of two other people. And I wanted to do right by them, but I also wanted to do right by my aesthetic. It was their general ideas that brought me to this point, so thank you to Mikey and Bobby. I wouldn't have been able to create these looks without you two, and I genuinely appreciate the work that you did for me. Love you. I hope that the takeaway from this theme and this episode for all of you is to collaborate with the people that you're closest with. It may be challenging, it may be difficult, and you might find out that maybe the people in your life aren't the best collaborators, but it will help push you out of your comfort zone, and it'll help you find new lanes of thinking. You know, brains heal brains and people heal people, and we inspire each other just with interaction. I know within my friend group, I have 3 amazing people that inspire me every time we hang out, and they truly have been the best influences in my life. And I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for these people. See you guys next week. I hope you enjoy. I hope you're interested in this sort of new format. We were not going to be able to show video anymore because Netflix got mad at me. I hope that you all enjoy. I hope that you guys stay tuned for the next week's episode. I don't actually remember what next week's episode is, but when we get there, we'll get there. With that, I'm going to go. So I'll see you guys later. I hope you're inspired. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you stay tuned for more fun stuff because there's a lot of stuff I have planned in the future. And, Gengar, anything else to say? Yeah. You can't say that online, I'm sorry. With that, I'm going to go. So I'll see you guys later. Take care. And above all else, bye!